Pleasant good day to all those who will come in contact with this message. I'm back again to bring another word, another message. And the theme of today's talk is the significance of work and proper work ethics. At this current juncture in the world, work is very much central in that millions of citizens around the world are out of jobs. Because most time when we think of work, people think of a job. However, work is far more broader than just a job. The motivational speaker, Imo Bakari, looked at a job in a very limited way. And she described the job as just over being broke. And last week's message dealt with poverty, and I spoke about the working poor. And the working poor is a clear example of although people having a job after paying bills is really a struggle till the following month. So when I talk about work, I want to look at it in as broad a way as possible. I remember from my previous involvement as a political activist between the period 1981 to 1992, as a member of the National Joint Action Committee in Trinidad and Tobago, we had a policy document called the People's Declaration of Policy for a New Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the statements in that document is that work is a right and not a favor. And that position has been asserted by the ILO in that all human beings should be given an equal opportunity to find work. But before COVID-19 and now with COVID-19, millions are out of a job. Of course, as I said before, work is far more broader than a job. But in terms of that scenario, an ILO report, one earlier report last year said 26 million persons were out of jobs in the Caribbean and Latin America. And a later report, that figure rose to 34 million. That is just in the Caribbean and Latin America alone. And the whole global economy, as we all know, has shrunk sharply. So every one of us needs to live a decent life, a life with dignity. And being employed, whether through a job or through your own creative efforts, it gives you the opportunity to take care of your recurrent expenditure, provide food, and provide some level of mental comfort. But our reality at this point in time is that work is a great struggle. So although I said it's a right and not a favor, with the impact of COVID-19, we know for a fact, not albeit being a right, many citizens will be struggling for some time to come in that the job that they had and the work that they did might not be recoverable. So we need to protect the fact that work is a right, and those who control the means of production, as Marxist theory alludes to, will be the ones who are more likely to profit. But if you profit, you should have a heart and a mentality whereby you will reinvest so that more people can be in a job. But if the philosophy is just mere profit, that may not necessarily be the agenda. So at all costs, we must always defend the right that people should be provided with decent work. But we know the struggles even before COVID-19, and those struggles have been exacerbated as a result of this ongoing pandemic. Now, another piece of philosophy that I benefited from in looking at work, again, was from my involvement with the National Joint Action Committee where my former leader, Makandal Daga, now deceased, made a very strong philosophical statement when he said that the hardest thing to do in life is nothing. Because if you have nothing to do, that in itself will promote a level of stress. If you are an ambitious person, a person who want to make something out of your life, it will be a very stressful situation. And as we have heard the old saying, you know, if there is nothing constructive to do, well, idleness will tend to reign supreme, and persons can find themselves in difficulties, you know, running afoul of the law, etc. So it is very important, as I mentioned before, those who can provide jobs for citizens, those who can provide opportunities so that people can be engaged, it is very important. Even though you may be out of a job, work is always on the agenda. For example, there is no dishonor in any type of work or in any type of job, if you want to look at it in that way. So whether you are a cleaner, a gardener, a painter, a doctor, it doesn't matter. There is honor in work. So if your work is to take care of your home, that should be done with pride and dignity. And of course, you must have a structure in place, because cleaning a house is a big project. You need to plan it out, you need to do it well. So cleaning, cooking, washing, ironing of clothes, you name it, baking, that is serious work. And it must be done with pride, it must be done with dignity, because there is no dishonor in any type of work. And then keeping your surroundings clean is also opening up the doors for blessings to flow, for the right energies to exist within your home. So I'm making this point to show that whether you're working at home, and now in the COVID-19 time, professionals and other groups of people are working from home. But those who are accustomed working from home, their work is very important. So occupy yourself with what you do it with dignity, do it with pride. And those of us who have not found good use of our time, we need to sit and consider how best we can fill in the slots in our days. So it is very important in terms of giving yourself the best opportunity to produce a good level of work, that you rise early. The yogic preachers and other spiritual people advise that rising early and preparing yourself is ideal. The hours of 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning, there's a high level of stillness, there is a high level of quietness, and it provides an opportunity for great communion with the Almighty. So prepare yourself, affirm positive thoughts, ask for guidance, and center yourself, and then roll out into the planned activities that you have for the day, whether it's at a professional level, whether it's at a domestic level. So as long as we can fill the various time slots in the day with useful activities, we certainly will be engaged in work. Of course, there's a time for resting, there's a time for personal development, there's a time for reading, there is a time for taking care of chores, there's a time for taking care of professional duties, there is a time for exercising, there is a time for recreation. So we can mix work and recreation through a proper structure. We all know that there is remunerative work which you are paid for, and of course any kind of talent that you can bring to the fore in terms of being paid for, that at this juncture or any other juncture before is very important, because you'll be creating economic activity that could drive whatever progress you are looking at a personal and a professional level in terms of taking care of those areas. But work is also non-remunerative, where you may do it on a voluntary basis. And to many young students out there, it's a golden opportunity to engage yourself in voluntary work where you can build tremendous work experience that can be a great help in your professional pursuits, where you might be able to provide a resume reflecting a lot of work, although you were not paid for it. So there are enough things in the world to engage us at all times in productive work, whether it's for pay or whether it's on a voluntary basis. And we have heard many philosophical statements over the years pertaining to work that can be a guide for us in terms of our attitudes towards work. We have heard that, the unlucky man is the lazy man, and the man of work is a lucky man. I repeat, the unlucky man is a lazy man. And when I say man, I mean all concerned. And the man of luck is the man of work. So if we want to be lucky, we got to work. All right? We have heard, if you are unprepared to dirty your hands, well, be unprepared to expect progress. So if you want to move forward, you got to dirty your hands. All right? We have heard that you should become a trailblazer. And many entrepreneurs, they create work. Where others cannot see possibilities, they are trailblazers, and they do not follow the beaten path. When we look at Proverbs 22, chapter 7, it is said that the rich ruleth the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. So those who control the means of production and are profiting from their businesses and their various lines of work, they certainly, will stand tall above the poor. Now, with a different mentality, they will help to empower the poor. But the point I'm making is that if you are not in a position where you can create work to generate the kind of wealth that you would like to have, you will certainly remain a slave to the rich. And of course, most of us, we know that a lot of things that we have acquired in life, we have to borrow. Now, to overcome that situation, we have to think of work in a different way. I remember many years ago in a financial management class, the statement was made in the class, and it is so pertinent then and now, that the uses of money surpass the sources of money. So in other words, if you just have a job, and I referenced here Imo Bakari at the beginning of this talk, you will certainly just be over broke and just be able to take care of expenses and then struggling. So this presents an opportunity, according to Gordon in his book, From the Trash Man to the Cash Man, to create diverse sources of income, right? You need to create residual income from creating other forms of businesses beside your central income. Income that will be flowing to you while you rest, right? Because what happens with a job, the money that comes in through the in window, it immediately goes back out. And think of this statement. With the many uses that you have in terms of your commitment for money, if there is only one source, you will certainly be in a situation where you are destined to remain poor. So create different sources so that you create more funds than your uses, so that you can retain, reinvest, and think of other ways where wealth can be created. And Gordon in that book also spoke of a very significant thing that people can also do, which is the creation of a business system. In that you may be good at something, you can develop licensing arrangements where anyone who uses that product, you are paid for. For example, Bill Gates and his Microsoft suite. Any Microsoft product that anyone uses any part of the world, money always will flow to the person who founded the system. So that, in Golden's explanation, was the development of a business system. So you could take your work to a different level where you can create a business system where money will be flowing into you in an unhindered, in a manner that is unencumbered. There will be a constant flow. Now, I have always been concerned about work ethics among persons who I have encountered in my life thus far. There are many persons who want to earn money by doing as little work as possible. And I've always considered those persons as sinful, because if you are to earn, we have heard the statement, the time-tested statement, that you must put out an honest day's work. Because if you are earning, even though you are dissatisfied with the current salary that you are getting, it is very important that you work for the current salary. Because if you require and desire a larger salary, and you are not even working for the current one, as far as I am concerned, you should never be recommended for a larger salary. So we need to all times work for what we earn. Not only from the employer point of view, but if you have a solid moral compass in you, you need to know within yourself that you worked for the money that you earn. Alright? I'm also concerned in terms of work ethics, in terms of the hours of work. Now, different countries have different cultures, and in some places, I know, for example, in the United States, there are many work sites where you can't even use your cell phone. Your cell phone is kept with security, and when you are working, you are working. In other companies in the United States, there is a half an hour lunch. We in the Caribbean, you have 1 hour, and it's back to work, because they are trying to maximize production and minimize distractions. So different cultures, there's a whole different philosophy driving how people work. Now, I am not making a case, like in my case here as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, for example, there are some areas of work in my country where I am not satisfied in terms of a full output. For example, there are many employees in a number of regional corporations and borough corporations who work on the streets, etc. Many of them work from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and that's the time span of their day's work. So I'm saying that whichever government may be in power, that is an unaddressed issue, because if a worker is being paid for 8 hours and is working between 2 to 3 hours, the country is being robbed, and it must be addressed. If people are working, provide work that could take up 8 hours, and in that way you are giving your economy and your country a better chance to progress. So that is an area that certainly must be addressed. Another area, now all over the world there are public servants, and that term public servant is such a beautiful nomenclature, in that you are placed in a position to serve the public. In some cases, or some people may say in many cases in my country, the experiences that members of the public have had with public servants were not all that beautiful. So I'm saying, if you are a public servant, you have been given a special responsibility to serve with pride, to serve with dignity, to serve with vivacity, to serve with enthusiasm, because serving others is certainly serving God. And when you serve someone well, and you leave them with a good feeling, you put a smile on their face, certainly you should feel good, they will feel good, and it will encourage the kind of atmosphere that people expect when they interface with public servants. So I'm saying it's a noble responsibility placed on your back, and certainly you should operate in a manner where people will feel joyful and fulfilled in being served by you. Also, when we think of service as a whole, when people are employed or in any work that they do, when you look at it as a means of serving others, you are giving the work you do a greater significance. You are giving it a greater power. Because when you serve people in that way, the whole customer service experience will be a great one, because you are not just working, but you are serving. And it's a beautiful statement. So do not just work, but serve. Work and being engaged in work is very important. It is of spiritual significance, where people feel a very beautiful sense of being in that they are involved in activities, contributing to society, contributing to themselves, their families, their communities, etc. It is spiritual. You are engaged in bringing out your skills, your talents, your thinking, etc., in creating, in serving, in solving. Certainly, I think that is the work of the Almighty if you do it from that perspective. Being involved in work is also of psychological importance, all right? And you can see the value of that in that many people, when they are retrenched, they are not only financially jeopardized, but they are, in many instances, psychologically devastated. Because they gain a sense of importance by rising early, preparing themselves, jumping in their vehicles, or taking transportation and going to their jobs. All right? It gives them a sense of, value, a sense of worth, and these psychological attributes are very important. However, it is important to not only value yourself on the basis of your job, because sometimes, as I said before, when you lose that job, psychologically you could feel like nothing. But remember, as a child of God, you're always something. So know that you are more important than just the job, but the job from a psychological point of view, it certainly gives you that feeling of a worthwhile human being. The ability to take care of your responsibilities, pay your bills, etc., etc. It is really a beautiful place to be. And in local parlance, many people said, through their jobs, it made them into a man or a woman, right? That they could have, stood on their own 2 feet in terms of taking care of financial responsibilities. So psychologically, having a job, doing work, is important in making us feel fulfilled. So, all in all, when we work, we must have the right attitude towards work. Because work ethics, it makes the work that you do, the job that you do, so much more enjoyable. If you serve through your work, you should do it with passion. Enjoy your work. And the saying has been said so many times, when you enjoy what you do, it is no longer work, in that you are living your dream. When you work and what you are engaged in, and you enjoy it in that way, you are living your dream. And in living your dream, you will certainly be able to please others, right? So work for the hours required, work with dignity, work with pride, work with intensity, serve others, and recognize that, a job is really, really important. The work you do, it builds yourself, it builds communities, it builds the nation. If we want to change the world, we got to work to change the world. So whether it's working to change the world, whether it's working to change your financial circumstances, whether it's working to serve humanity, we must really put out our best. When we put out our best, we are doing ourselves, we are doing others, and we are pleasing God. So let our work be pleasing to God. Let us work hard, let us work smart, but work in a way that everyone can benefit from it. So I'm saying, work is indeed a blessing. Work is indeed a blessing. Let us work to create more work for the millions who are out of work. Let us work to create a better world. And let us ensure that every human being can be given that right that I spoke about, which is work is a right and not a favor. So let us do our part. Let us ensure that more smiling faces are on the globe by having useful and productive work through which they can be engaging. As I said earlier, even though you are unemployed, use your day wisely and ensure that at the end of the day, benefits, progress, and a satisfied feeling are what your experience will provide. So today I thank you for tuning into this message. Again, I am sure that you received the message, and I ask you, as usual, to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and tune in next week Monday for another presentation. Of course, if you are interested in a one-on-one consultation, you can contact me at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. Alright? So move fast, book your appointment. Let us discuss how you can create work and how you can place yourself in a stronger position. So until the next time, look out and stay tuned for ongoing messages. Thank you, and bye till my next presentation.